Let's be revolutionary. Yeah, we can be so much more. Let's be more than ordinary.
Hey there, I'm Lee Wilson, and this is Focus Forward Business Design. It seems like lately, whenever I talk to my coaching students about goals, I can almost see them get 2 inches shorter as their shoulders slump and their heads drop. When did goals become such a downer? I always get excited when I set a new goal that was going to get me further or achieve that next great thing. But I think since goals and accountability have become buzzwords in the coaching venues, the power of goals has been lost. People tend to set a goal and then oftentimes have absolutely no plan to back it up and take it to completion. It almost seems like goals have taken on the look of a New Year's resolution, which I suppose, in looking at it, really is just a long-term goal that seems to have great strength on January 2nd, but by March, it's lost all its sexiness, or we have forgotten that we ever set it in the first place, as we've moved on to what we feel are more attainable goals, maybe something not quite so big. I know you're probably thinking, geez, Lee, this is kind of a downer. Where's the cheerleading and the you can do it chance? We're getting there, I promise. But I think we have to be real about what is happening and what steps we need to take to get back on track to having goals that we've actually got to get excited about. We have to have a plan that we execute and we see completion of the journey. If I think about my own life, especially going back to my childhood and teens, it comes across glaringly apparent of how goals were a large part of my life and how not achieving them was never an option. I'll get back to that in a minute, but what it did make me realize is that the way we looked at goals and how we set ourselves up was much different than what I'm seeing in my coaching students today, which, by the way, we'll be changing up on how we deal with that, and I can guarantee that success rates are going to go through the roof with my students. So, back to my example. Many of you know that I was an elite gymnast with a pretty rigid schedule, as you can imagine. My days were pretty lined out with absolutely no room for wasted time if I was going to get schoolwork, chores, and 30 hours a week in the gym, as well as competitions on many weekends. This is where goals became critical to my success. Typically, they were gym goals for a particular skill or routine. Looking back, here is what the difference was, in my opinion, compared with what many of the goals that are being set today. First of all, we didn't set goals for things that were assumed would happen. Goals were big, they were challenging, they pushed us, oftentimes beyond our comfort zone. This is good though. We want to step outside of our safety net, as that's where the growth occurs, whether it be in sports, business, relationships, or any variety of areas in our life that are important to us. Here is where the rubber meets the road though. Once the goal is set, it can't simply be stated as a goal. It must be followed up by a plan that's measurable and accountable. I'm going to go over 3 steps that I feel are critical when setting a goal for yourself that will ensure success at a much larger percentage than maybe has been happening in your current life. After all, we have all heard that a goal without a plan is just a dream. All right, number 1, set goals that are needle movers, that are going to take you in a direction that improves your world or the world of others, whether that be professionally or personally. Make this big. It's okay to have small goals like getting the laundry done, but really, do we need to have a plan around that? I think probably not. This goal should be one that you're excited about. I want you to tell people about it so that they can get behind you, they can support you, and above all, they can test you to make sure that you're doing what you said you were going to. It should be something that you will be so disappointed in yourself if you don't make it happen. All right, number 2. You need to design the plan. Take a step back. Look at your goal. It's big, and it may seem like achieving it is a long way away. This is where the plan comes in. Likely, there are many smaller things that need to happen along the way to see success. For example, when I knew that I wanted to write my first online course, this was incredibly daunting and intimidating. I knew what the course was going to be on, but I also knew that I had no idea how to get it out there from a technology side, how to shoot it, edit it, produce it. What I found out later is that there was also about 20 other things that had to be learned that I didn't even know had to be learned. Classic example of not knowing what you don't know. Once I decided we were going to do an online class, the next step was to brainstorm all of the things that we knew needed to happen. such as what platform to market it on, the equipment needed to shoot it, etc. Each one of these items became a step in the process. And honestly, each one of those had their own steps, such as learning what equipment we needed, then evaluating the reviews of the equipment, then pricing the equipment, then ordering the equipment, then learning how to use it once it got here. All right, so you get it. Each major component has many below it. What this did, though, once we got this mapped out, was to give us small pieces that were attainable on the way to the bigger goal. Number 3, now that you have your roadmap, this is where you should be excited because you're not looking at this big monster with no idea how to battle it. You have bite-sized pieces that you know how to address. You're going to get quick results and many times instant gratification each time a piece of the plan is completed. This is where you need to celebrate. So many of us hold back and we don't see success until we achieve the huge goal. This makes it so difficult to keep the motivation high, as it feels like you're doing nothing but trudging up a very steep hill with no downhill to reset and get your wind back. Celebrate each piece of the process as you complete it. I know that we struggled with this as the whole process took much longer than we expected as we were going through the learning curve. What kept us going, though, was looking back at where we had started and how much more we know now than when we began. Keeping things in perspective is critical in your success to large goals. Otherwise, getting frustrated can become quite easy. So I hope this has given you a path to follow as you look at your big goals. Make them meaningful and life-changing. You can do this. Follow your heart and make a plan. And always remember that it's your choice to focus forward.
Let's be revolutionary. Yeah, we can be so much more. Let's be more than